clearing this up first, Wanpaku Duck Yume Boken is the Japanese title for the television show Ducktales. Naughty Duck Dream Adventures is not something that they came up with for the Famicom. Ducktales, of course, was the animated series based on the Scrooge McDuck comics by Carl Barks. In these stories, the richest duck in the world, Scrooge McDuck, goes on globe-trotting adventures with his extended family. The television show had finished airing in Japan by the time the game was released. The story for the Famicom game is that Scrooge is out to get 5 treasures from around the world. And that's really it. So DuckTales is one of the most beloved NES games. And it's one of my favorites too. In fact, I used to be able to beat the whole thing in under 12 minutes, though I'm out of practice. And the strange thing here is that the NES version was released before the Famicom version. The US version was out for the 1989 holiday season, while Famicom owners had another 2 months to wait. There doesn't seem to be a whole lot of difference between the two versions, though on the Famicom they seem to have fixed one of the better speedrunning tricks. Still, this game is not perfect. In fact, as I play it, one word comes to mind to describe Wanpaku Duck Yume Boken: unfinished. It feels like there's large portions of the game that are just not done. But let's back up a little bit here. There are 5 stages in the game that you can choose to do in any order. Except you can't. If you choose to go to the mines first, you're sent to another stage to find the key to the mines. This is the only situation in the game where an item required to complete a stage is found on a different stage. You control Scrooge as he makes his way through each level, all of which have their own gimmick. Scrooge can hop around if you hit A, but what you really want to do is use his cane as a pogo stick, which you do by pressing down and B while you're in the air. You can also strike things with the cane by pressing up against them and hitting B. That can fling objects upward, or possibly reveal something hidden in the object you struck. Scrooge has a ton of air control in his jumping, which is good because DuckTales requires some insanely precise platforming. There's a lot of spots where you have to jump on these tiny bricks, or bounce on enemies' heads repeatedly. You might have to pogo across places where you'd get hurt if you stop, or turn off your pogo if you're going to bounce too high. For a game that looks simple, Wanpaku Duck Yume Boken can be pretty tricky. On medium and hard difficulty level, you can take 3 hits before you die. Easy mode essentially doubles the length of your life bar, letting you take 6. The other difference with the hardest difficulty is that certain items don't appear. There's lots of items hidden throughout the game. The most common thing you'll find are gems. They add to your money, which you can spend in a very small handful of spots. How much money you've collected also determines what ending you get. These coins make you invulnerable for a few seconds. Ice cream restores 1 point of health, while cakes fully restore your health. This item extends your maximum health by 1, and these dolls grant you an extra life. Extra lives matter a lot here, since as you're learning the game, you're gonna die a lot to falling in pits. And there are no continues in Wanpaku Duck Yume Boken. The stages are expansive and often have some clever tricks and shortcuts to them. Secrets abound in this game, and in a few places they're even required. One thing about these stages is that there's often a very quick route to the end of them. You can explore for more treasure, or you can zip yourself right to the boss. Strangely, for a game where all the platforming is challenging, the bosses in Wanpaku Duck Yume Boken are trivial. They have very simple patterns, and as soon as you get a feel for it, you'll power through them. The other significant thing about the level design here is that you can wander pretty freely on the levels. There are plenty of paths up and down, and some stages require backtracking. Probably the worst oversight in the game, and the thing that makes it feel the most unfinished, is that there's no final stage. You collect the treasures from each location, and then you have to go back to Transylvania and just do the level again. Which would be a 3rd time, actually, since you had to get the key to the mines here as well. The enemies in the stage tend to either be trivial or incredibly annoying. Anything that bounces around tends to have a very tight window for pogoing off of it. And the spiders in particular are the worst. All you can really do with them is try to bait out their movement and then jump again immediately afterwards, since they won't go down for a few seconds right after they've gone after you. Another thing that's a bit frustrating is the snow on the Himalayas level. You'll get stuck in it if you try to pogo off of it, and that takes away one of your primary movement options and makes it more difficult for you to defend yourself. So this game was very popular in the US, but how was it received in Japan? To answer that, let me just jump over to this baseball game. Yeah, that team turned one of the best 8-bit video game songs ever into a fight song. Wanpaku Duck Yume Bouken is one of the most beloved Famicom games. The game was so popular that they brought back the cartoon and started showing the unaired episodes. And this of course wasn't the end for the game. For some reason, Capcom abandoned the Japanese title of the show and wound up going with Ducktales for later Japanese releases. That includes a Famicom sequel, and 2 Game Boy remakes of those games. I spent a lot of time here picking on the flaws in Wanpaku Duck Yume Bouken, and I do that because I love the game so much. Even if it could have been a little bit better, it's still one of the best games to play on the Famicom. And you really can't beat the moon theme.